up, folks? It is Tuesday here. Decided to record a video for no other reason than to just stay consistent with recording videos. And what actually inspired me was, so we all know Joe Rogan has probably the biggest podcast on the planet. And he has, let's actually just check it out here quick, how many episodes he has. He has 1,400 episodes. So that is a shit ton of podcast episodes. And if you go back to, I encourage you to look it up, but go back and look at his very first podcast episode. Really the first hundreds. It's basically him and Brian Redband, one of his friends, sitting in front of a computer like this and just answering questions and talking about nonsense in front of a camera. And you fast forward to today, 1,400 episodes later, and it's one of the biggest podcasts on the planet. So some advice we can take from that, or just something we can learn from that is you just have to stay consistent. No matter what it is you want to do, just keep doing it all the time. And sometimes you have to even not be worried about where it's going to go. But if it's something you enjoy doing and want to continue to do, just stay consistent and stay the path, and it will all end up working out in the long run. It's kind of crazy to see from his first episode to what it is now. He has this giant studio now. And the first episode is literally just in his basement in front of a computer screen. There's like snowflakes falling on the screen or in the background as well. It's so weird to look at. But yeah, I think we can all take some advice from that by just whatever it is that we want to do. We just have to stay consistent, stay the path, and just keep moving forward. And it will all play out in the long run. And I think when doing that, you have to, so I'm looking at episode 18 of his, has 21,000 views. Now he puts out an episode and almost all of them get 1 million. But as I was saying, I think as you are staying consistent at whatever it is you want to do and you enjoy doing and you want something big to come from it, I think it helps by not focusing so much on the end, like the end goal. Focus more on the process, staying consistent, and sticking with good systems that you're just going to keep putting out reps and putting out content all the time. And you don't really know what the end's going to entail or what the big grand finale will be. And I think always thinking of that might actually hurt you in the short term and actually might burn you out or give you just kind of, stall or halt your progress and kind of give you these negative feelings associated with the process, with the journey. So just stay consistent, put out reps at whatever it is that you're doing, build the habit, and just keep moving forward. And I think something huge will happen in the long run. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to do here with all the shit I'm doing now. Writing content, putting out these videos, kind of trying to be more creative with the videos and whatnot as well. But I'm just goal is to not make it perfect, but just keep producing rips. So there's that little intro. What I really wanted to talk about today, I just wrote an article for Lift Lab, which is titled, "Why You Should Keep Squatting When Your Knees Hurt." Now, that title was, to be honest, was used a little bit to draw people's attention, but there's a lot of truth in it at the same time. And I think it is most evident when it comes to squatting and with knee pain. I'm a strength athlete. I've competed in powerlifting and Olympic lifting, primarily doing Olympic lifting now. I think you see this big time in the strength sport community and the CrossFit community because there's a lot of squatting. There's a lot of back squatting, front squatting, overhead squatting, every snatch, every clean's a squat. And because of this, people build up knee pain. Their knees hurt most specifically when they squat. Sometimes it hurts so much that even doing a body weight squat hurts really bad, or just a squat with the barbell hurts really bad. And I think people's first intuition when something like this happens, and doesn't just apply to knee pain, but can apply to pretty much the entire scope of rehab and therapy, physical therapy. I think people's intuition when they start feeling pain is to take time off. If squats are causing pain, let's stop squatting. And there is a little bit of, I think, truth to that, or I think that can help a little bit. But I think it's overall not the best advice. So let me explain a little bit here. So we know that stress, our body adapts to stress. Whatever kind of stress it is, we adapt in sometimes favorable ways and sometimes unfavorable ways. Usually when it's unfavorable, it's too much stress that our body is kind of taking away from one system or one area so it can use that energy towards something else. So basically, if we're exposed to too much stress, or how do I want to say it? If we're exposed to, I guess, if our immune system starts to get stressed too much and we're exposed to germs, that system of the body needs more energy, so it pulls energy from everywhere else to help us get unsick or help us recover from a cold, from the flu, or whatever. And on the opposite end of that, we know if you stress your muscles, they grow. If you stress your cardiovascular system by doing longer form aerobic activity, in the long term, your resting heart rate and blood pressure are likely to drop. We know if you stress your cognitive abilities by reading, learning, and I don't want to say complex ways, but thorough ways, that would be a stressor to that, and you grow by basically learning something new. But we don't tend to apply the same line of thinking towards joint health or joint performance. When our knees start to hurt when we are squatting, we're like, okay, I think we need to stop squatting. So to give a little bit more clear examples, say you are a Olympic lifter or a CrossFitter and your knees start to get into extreme pain squatting when you hit 60% on a back squat, or even before that. So I would say your knees probably specifically hurt within that strict domain of back squatting, or maybe front squatting as well. And then when you start to do a body weight squat, they hurt as well. So a path forward here where you can stress your knees and develop the tissue resiliency in those joints is to not stop squatting, because all that's going to do is detrain you. At some point, your pain might be so severe that you need some time off to get enough recovery where you can do some stuff that will benefit your knees. So things I like to do are like a med ball sissy squat, or tempo squats with the heels elevated, and you're basically just trying to drive your knees forward as much as you can and drop your hips straight down to your heels, keeping your pelvis underneath you. What this is going to do, it's actually going to push your knees into more knee flexion than usual, but the load, you're taking a med ball, sometimes 20-pound dumbbell, something light, and you're just moving at a slow tempo to drive some stress and a little bit of load into your knees, so your knees can start to adapt to that stress and build some resiliency in that knee. If you all you do is take time off, you're just going to detrain your entire system, and you are going to come back and you might feel really good for one day, maybe 2 days, and then you're just tanked because you haven't exposed yourself to any sort of training stimulus. So I think the path forward to quote unquote recover from knee pain or just deal with it or any sort of pain when you're training is to, you might have to stop doing specific things. Like if your knees hurt that much back squatting, you might have to try a front squat. If that hurts, you might have to try safety squat, bar squat. You might have to try a Zercher squat. You might have to try to elevate the heels. You might even have to start trap bar deadlifting where there's not as much knee bend. But I think the path forward is to still find some ways you can squat, find some ways you can still add stress to the system that you can adapt from, that you can recover from, and you can build some resiliency to whatever area it is that you're trying to restore and get back to better performance where you can continue to do the things you want to do. So I think we need to, overall, to end it off, is I think we need a new approach when it comes to pain as the first indicator or the first line of defense is to stop. Because I don't think that really gets us anywhere in the long term. And I think over time it actually encourages people to stop doing what they love from a training standpoint. So I think there's always ways you can train and work around injuries or pain in certain areas. And I think in the specific instance of squatting and knee pain, I think you can still squat. You just have to be smart about what type of squatting you do and the load you use, the volume you squat with, the positions you squat with. All three of those things are going to really change the dynamics of what is going on internally in the body. So again, there's always a way to work around it and to keep moving forward, and I just don't think stopping altogether is the right way. So that is all I got today. I think that was short and sweet, and I'll see you guys next time for whatever it is that I decide I want to talk about. Until then, bye-bye.